and they are right here. I'm still back. So,
There are none for tonight, that come out of your reserve fund, the FinCom
right,
reserve.
okay. Oh. Okay, so this is the planning, oh no, these are interdepartment, I've mixed these up then. Those are interdepartment.
Just all the, we just have a
Oh, they're all
list of
interdepartment.
interdepartmental transfers.
Sorry, I'm with you. Okay, so the first one is straightforward. The planning department consultant to planning department expenses, transfer of $600 from line 45 to line 47. I'm presuming, Debbie, did you say Sue Bailey's looked at this and she's checked all the balances?
Yes, so
Because they're so
the
small.
planning board expense does need a transfer. They have funds within their department, so they'd like to move the money from the consultant line to the expense line.
Yeah. Okay. They were marked here on this sheet.
It should be.
Planning board.
Consultant was $65.95.
Expenses, so they're less,
Yep.
they're negative right now. $1.70, so.
Okay.
This was something we anticipated back in February and March, and they were able to make all their payments subject to the May 1st. That's when we can do the interdepartmental transfer.
Oh,
So.
I see here. Okay. Okay. So. Okay, so they have 5,000 left right now in the consultant line, so plenty of
Yes.
money. All right, do I have a motion that we approve this transfer?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Jamie, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Larry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Nope. So, all right, so just sign this. 5/29/13. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Anybody else got something?
No, that's
No.
all. There's quorum, so that's good. So then the next one, there are two on this sheet. The first is election department expenses to election department wages, transferring 1,750 from line 38 election expenses to line 37 election wages. You see that there?
Right. How much are they transferring?
1,750.
Okay.
So that would leave an approximate remaining balance in the expenses of 672. So it looks like they're fine. And then the second one on this sheet is police department wages to police department expenses, transferring 3,000 from line 56, police department wages, to line 57, police department expenses.
How much transfer?
It's 3,000. And the explanation is with fiscal year 2013 winding down, I've done some analysis on my current expenditures and find that the potential exists for a shortfall. The reasons for this possible shortfall are cruise repairs and maintenance are currently over budget allocation by 1,130. Some additional costs may be incurred prior to the end of the year. Gasoline expenses are on track to exceed the 34,000 allocated by about 1,500. Utility expenses are projected to exceed the 20,000 allocated in my budget by about 2,000. These overages would deplete my remaining funds and leave little available for unforeseen and routine expenses. Therefore, Chief Barker is requesting 3,000 this transfer from wages. So this shows, I mean, that they have plenty of money left in wages to transfer 3,000.
Mm. I'll make the motion.
Doesn't seem like
We
they're gonna
transfer.
spend all the money they have.
What are they, in expenses, they have? Well, 11,000. They would be close, it looks like, so.
Oh.
Do I have a motion?
I'll still make the motion that
Okay.
we accept the transfer.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, Jamie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. All right, so. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll let Peter finish first. So then the next one is a sheet of 5 transfers. The first one is the inspection department wages to inspection department expenses, transferring 1,000 from line 68 to line 69.
Inspection department.
And this is from Ken Ward, the building inspector. I'm requesting a transfer of 1,000 from building inspection wages to building expenses to cover the cost of mileage expenses for the remainder of the current fiscal year. Any questions on that one? So they only have $333 left
Mhm.
right now. Then the second one is from the assistant treasurer collector salary to the treasurer collector's salary, transferring $145 from line 25 to line 24. And there's a letter here from Karen Summit explaining this is a prorated stipend for certification as the Massachusetts Certified Collector. The criteria for full certification is passing the exam and being in office for a year. May 8th was my 1-year anniversary. And then she gives the calculations. There's extra money in the assistant treasurer collector line because the position was not filled for the entire fiscal year.
Okay.
I'm good with that one. Everybody good with that?
Sure.
The third one is selectmen expense to annex expense. Oh, selectmen expenses and annex expenses to town hall expenses, transferring 800 from line 7 selectmen expense and 1,500 from annex expense for a total of 2,300, not 23,000, right? To line 52 town hall expenses. And
To where?
town hall expenses. And this is saying high heating oil costs this season, maintenance and repairs have drained this budget for town hall expenses. And this will cover anticipated expenses for May and June.
I can't find annex. Where is that?
The
again?
50, line 52 that they're talking about?
Yep. If you're looking on the budget detail sheet there, it's on page 5 at the top. They call it, it's called Center School Annex. It's really the
Hmm.
Town Hall Annex.
Oh, okay. So where is it going to?
If a
Town hall expenses, so the top line.
Oh, for the roof?
No, the expense budgets between the two buildings are segregated. So they're not combined, so right now we have ample money in the annex, but we are desperately need money in the town hall.
The town hall
Oh,
one's
from
on
town hall.
page 4
Yeah, at the bottom.
at the bottom.
So we have bills to pay.
And it's negative right now.
We had to, we're on heating oil here, we converted to natural gas at the annex, made a big difference on investment to keep those costs down. They were always historically higher at the annex on the heating costs, now the town hall is, so, that was a big, reason for this, but we've had some maintenance and some issues here in this building. Okay.
Where's the selectmen expense show? Oh, I
And
see
that's actually on the
expenses, I
first
see.
page.
Yep, so 1,700.
We felt we were able to, be able to, dip into the selectmen's expense line as well to cover this. We usually will go to that expense budget if we have to, provide some coverage to another budget in the town. And we think we're able to make it fine with this.
Then the fourth one on this list is Selectmen's Administrative Assistant wages to Executive Secretary wages, transferring 2,000 from line 5, Selectman Admin Assistant, to line 4, Executive Secretary.
How much was that?
2,000.
Okay.
So from Admin Assistant, so there's 10,000 left, so there's plenty. And there was
The
a note about
administrative
it.
assistant has sufficient funds, and we didn't hire the administrative assistant until the fall. So we utilized the executive secretary for coverage, so I'd rather not reduce the part-time executive secretary. She works about 15 hours a week, I want to say, to reduce her hours in June. If I can just move the money and keep
Right,
things
right.
at that level. We have a
Yeah.
lot of projects, summer projects now that we have to focus on.
Yep. And then the last one on this, sorry, did you have a question?
No, I'm just looking, I mean, this says to May 2013, is that to the end of, basically to the end of this month, or is it
It's
basically?
for today, because we
as of
just,
today?
I asked the accountant to run a special one for tonight's meeting,
Mhm.
so usually we
So
don't,
to May
we don't
28
do
or
them,
something?
we usually wait till the month ends. She tried to post, as many bills as we could, payroll's due tomorrow, but, this
Good.
accurately reflects almost everything that's been paid in the month of May.
Because it seems like, I mean, looking at a lot of these and looking just at selectmen, you really have, a lot of money still remaining, if you were to, I mean, I don't know if a lot of these are gonna be spent out through the end of this, next month, because if you extend out 46,000 for 12 months, it comes out to $500,000, and, I mean, it comes out to, $5 million, I mean, and there's 2.34, I mean, 553,000 is 234,000 that was on the total budget, so seems like you're gonna have a lot of extra money.
What are you looking at? The
I'm not
selectmen's?
following you.
No, I'm just taking, I mean, if this is to the end of May,
All they have
So-
left total is 46,000.
46,000, but if you multiply 46,094 times 12,
But wait a minute, but if
No,
you're
that's not a
talking,
monthly.
you're talking about the 46 here, but that includes article balances and things that are off budget too.
article balances,
You're talking about the number at the bottom?
I'm talking about the balance remaining.
Yeah, so if you look at, all I'm trying to do is get an interdepartmental transfer from the administrative assistant wages to the executive secretary.
Yeah, no,
So
I know.
that's finite, that's very clear. If you're looking at that bottom number, which is balance remaining for the total of the grouping called selectmen, that includes various off-budget accounts that are in articles, that are not part of the FY13 budget necessarily. They carry over from fiscal year to fiscal year. They're separate standalone budgets as approved by town meeting in various years.
So that's not part of, when you figure the budget, current year budget, you know,
Well, I'm looking only, strictly have a request before the finance committee for a transfer of available funds and that were authorized
Mm.
under chapter 44, section 33B, to transfer funds from
okay.
the budget line administrative assistant wages to the budget line executive secretary. That's the
Right.
only balance.
But I'm just looking at some of the other ones, like the GASB, like you have $8,000 remaining, so is that gonna be spent out? The engineering, West Sox Lane, but that's $4,190.
Well, those are articles, they're not
So-
part of they're not part of the FY13 budget,
Then they're not.
which is on the agenda for right now. Those are articles.
Yeah, they may not be spent, as opposed to, you know, a carryover type of a thing.
So
So
what
it's-
happens if they're not spent? Don't they get carried?
At some
carried
point, they'll be
over?
certified as free cash then.
If the
Oh, free
budget
cash.
lines that are in the budget on the table, from the town meeting warrant of April 30th, 2012, the FY13, those are the budget lines that we can only do the transfers from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on those budget lines. You are looking at an accounting expenditure report, which isn't necessarily, where you can move things. It's from the other sheet that's up there right from the
No, I
April
wasn't
30th.
suggesting that we can move things, I was just looking in terms of, I mean, Karen says it could be like free cash and stuff, but that's, I mean, everything might be free cash, but everything is paid out of our tax money too, so you might say it's free cash, but it's still coming out of our pockets, you know, as a taxpayer, I mean, just like,
Right, but
you
if this
know,
is what
for-
people already voted on, and
Well,
if
I
it
know,
wasn't
I
fully
know.
spent, that's a good thing, because they
Well,
came in
exactly.
under
Yeah,
budget.
But I'm saying like the water, like I was talking to saying that, well, we're gonna try to shoot for $1 million and, you know, and have that in the stability fund for the water department. That's not a good idea. I mean, having something reasonable is a good idea, but $1 million of anything, you know, that is
Well,
very
but I
high,
mean, for them,
you know,
$1 million, when you consider that the two filters to replace.
Well, but do
are
we need to cover
like
$500,000 or maybe 500,000? You know, $1 million is. I mean, everything that you say comes out of free cash and stuff like that
No,
is
that's-
ultimately comes out of the taxpayers' money. You know, or any kind of expenses. So if we have, I mean, is it a good thing to have a lot of free cash? I mean, I don't know if it's. you
It's
know,
not a
from,
good thing to have a
it's-
lot, but to
yeah,
have some.
To have a reasonable amount
Right.
for free cash. You know, for.
Well, I think
So-
that in this case, you know, the selectmen have been taking a position for the past several years to be conservative in expenses and wage lines, and that's why we still have a hiring freeze.
Mhm.
And everything is carefully monitored by the Board of Selectmen on every vacancy, on whether to hire it or not, you know, or can we hold off for a couple months? But all
Right.
that comes back, and it's unexpended funds in this case, so the departments are careful with their budgets. And in the case of the building inspector, that's a request from the wage line, which is the alternates and the secretary position. So, and that's a case of not utilizing that wage line and having alternates come in, but, so he's got money there, but on the mileage end, where they use their own vehicles to travel, you know, a significant amount around the town doing inspections, you know, every day or so, we have to reimburse them,
Right.
the IRS mileage reimbursement rate. So, you know, this is just an opportunity to move money, unlike in a city council can do that at a city council meeting. We don't have that opportunity in the small town, so when the legislature passed this about, I wanna say 5-6 years ago, it just provided a little more flexibility for towns to do
Right.
these type of
Yeah.
transfers. Other than that, you'd be going to town meeting and voting, you know, probably about 50 small articles to
Right.
transfer $100 here
Yeah.
and $50 there,
Yeah,
and just to
Yeah.
try to get
You'd
towns
almost have to have a
to
monthly
have a little
town
more
meeting.
flexibility,
yeah,
like cities do, is I think the intent of this law.
yeah. So moving right along, the next one is transfer from veterans assessment to veterans benefits, transferring 2,000 from line 112, Eastern Essex Veterans District, to line 111, veterans benefits. So Eastern Essex Veterans District has 4,300 in it. So they have the money to move. And then there was an explanation, the Veterans Benefits line has been highly utilized this year. The district assessment was lower than anticipated, so this transfer moves funds from assessment to the benefits line. So we must have some bills to pay.
Yes.
So I think that one's straightforward. Do I have a motion that we approve these 5 transfers?
I'll make the motion, we approve the 5
Okay.
transfers.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Aye.
second.
Jamie? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, any nays? Nope.
Is there any reason why these are bundled together?
As we get them in, we try to just add them on the list to make either agenda. So in the case of this one, the selectmen approved it on the 20th.
No, I was just wondering, suppose if we didn't approve one of them, then it seemed like it would mess everything up. I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess we'd have to have that reflected and have a different signature page. I would have to modify that anyway.
hopefully it won't come to that.
Yeah, but it
It all
does
seems
require.
rather mundane, but you never know.
This here, so I don't forget to leave it for Dee. And then next on the agenda is to approve minutes. Unfortunately, we didn't get any updates or new minutes from Linda. There was just this one set of minutes from our town meeting that I drafted. It was pretty straightforward. Do I have a motion that we approve these minutes? I will get rid of that extra votes at the bottom of this. That's bugging me, but it's not a material change. We didn't really have anything significant to address besides the Article 5, which we all voted during the meeting.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know, that's kind of redundant, but,
I've read through them. If everyone's fine, I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
okay. So Jamie makes a motion, anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Approved. So then I have that we need to collect yet the April 3rd, April 9th, April 17th, and the May 1st minutes. So we have 4 remaining. So, then, anybody have any updates that they'd like to share?
The only update I have on the water commissioners is that the new water board has been seated. Tim Toomey was elected chairman, and Stu Dalzell is the clerk. Superintendent Reza is on leave, and they've brought in a consultant, John Hargraves, to assist with the overseeing of the department and, just as importantly, the construction. And they have begun their interviews for their primary and secondary applicants. They've begun last night. And their new administrative assistant will begin next week, so there is some forward movement in staffing.
Okay. In the end, did they hire somebody full-time, or what did they hire
I
somebody?
believe it's full-time.
Full-time,
Did you see the article they had on the Daily News? I mean, they're basically saying that we're paying somebody $80. We're paying Weston and Sampson $80 an hour
That is
for
correct.
the thing, and it seems
For what?
very well. Just what we,
For the
because those two
primary.
people that they don't
Oh.
have anymore, they replace them with Sampson
Yeah.
Weston. We're paying the 80. So how much money we paid Sampson Weston so far for those people that they haven't
Wow.
hired yet.
Which is why I'm pleased to see the forward motion.
Well. And was there any further update about the membrane? Sorry.
There was no
Nothing
discussion about
about that.
membranes, the membrane system or cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
that has not been discussed,
Okay, just the question between 100,000
which
as
is
quoted
huge.
by Wesson and Sampson on TV
Right.
versus the 500,000 we're now hearing. I just wonder
Right, there has
what's
not
the case. Okay,
been an update on that.
all right. And there haven't been any school meetings. There was a regular school committee meeting I wasn't able
I
to
didn't go to
attend.
that
But they
one,
haven't
no.
had any communications meeting. I think
They're
one's
gonna
coming
have
up.
one in,
I think it was
coming up.
canceled this month and it's coming up in June.
yeah, June's
Yeah.
gonna have one.
So, all right, anything else anybody want to discuss?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna talk about this on the TV, but the reason why I was bringing up that is because I'm looking at these balances and like even, especially like the police department, and I'm seeing like large amounts that are still left over and that's why I like to see the end of the year or as close to the end of the year as possible, because, you know, if you're saying, well, all this extra money becomes free cash or like that, so big
Mhm.
deal, it just, to me, it means like maybe in some of the things they're budgeting a little bit too much money, you know,
Mhm.
if you're looking at police station and you see they have $190,000, 924 remaining.
Which page are you looking at?
I'm looking at page 5. I'm looking at wage and salaries, police, 148,000 remaining for only 1 month left to go. So if you extend that out for 12 months, it's well over the, you know, the initial budgeted amount they have for the year. So, I mean, that's
Well,
why
but-
I like to look at
but
actual
wasn't
as
that-
opposed to obligated balances. When you're making comparisons, you have to look at what
Yeah.
has been really spent. Not, looking at, amount from previous year, what was budget doesn't tell you the picture, but to
Mm.
see the spent to date and see that there's only 1 month remaining.
But I think
You know,
like
I'm
in the
curious
police
how-
department, didn't they have like a detective or so, another position in there that wasn't filled or something like that? So,
I don't know.
I mean, I know when we
know.
were going over for the next year's budget, that there was an adjustment there as far as, you know, the wages and salaries, because one position had changed.
But does it make that much of a difference that there's $148,000 remaining?
Well, it could be if
Uh,
that, you know,
you
and
know,
we're looking
for-
at for this year where
I don't know.
that position wasn't filled.
I don't know, I'm just throwing out one
Let's
thing.
see.
I can go through this, a lot of these things in the budget. and,
I think it's hard to
say,
tell, I mean,
you
without
know,
questioning them, and especially where this is May. I mean,
It's
some
supposed to be, it's
people,
only 1 month remaining though.
well, 1 month and some days,
know.
and maybe all of May's expenses aren't in it, so.
All of May's, well, if it's going by salary, they should have all their salary should be in there by, for May.
Yeah.
It says wage and salary. Just, I don't know, I mean, because a lot of times we don't know what actually is spent to date with the end of the year. We're just comparing what was in budgeted based what was in previous year, so we don't know how much extra money and what their free cash was that was brought forward. You know, we don't
They
really
don't bring
know.
anything forward, though, they start fresh each year
Yeah,
with
but-
whatever was voted.
Right, and then where does that extra money in their budget go?
So
It will
it-
go to free cash.
Free
and
cash,
you'll
that's
get
what
a-
I'm saying.
You'll
It
get a
goes to-
statement like this, usually at your closeout meeting on by July 15th.
Mhm.
That's when the FinCom budget work for fiscal 13 will come to an end, and anything that hasn't been paid will be encumbered at that point.
Mhm.
There may be some last minute transfers and things, but that would be when you know that the exact balance is.
But I don't think there'll be any last minute transfers of wages and salaries for police, will there be?
You know, I don't
just,
really know what.
You know, from,
Part of that would be earmarked overtime, so if the chief has been conservative on overtime, or there
Right.
haven't been any disasters or events or things like that, that he hasn't had to utilize that, some of that has to be built in, especially to a 24/7 operation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That aren't,
Absolutely.
An
that
emergency.
aggregate numbers aren't gonna tell you, just looking at that, what that would be for. But that's one of the important things about an operation like the police department, when you look at the wages. Because, don't forget, it's not just police, it's also dispatch.
Sure.
right.
So we run dispatch, some towns run it
But I don't mean to just
independently
pick on police,
sometimes.
because I can mention other item,
Well,
things
yeah,
that
but,
I'm looking
you know,
at too. I just
I
throw that
think
as
like
an example.
it's in
And,
the police that they had, I don't know whether they eliminated the deputy chief position.
Well, that hasn't been funded, correct, for a couple of.
right.
Since Chief Barker assumed the
Right.
That's
role
been
as
for a while.
chief, the selectmen.
But I know that they made some changes there, which, you know, would affect probably the numbers that were here, because, you know, we're looking at a budget that was done a year ago.
Right.
And then
That's right.
in the middle of the year, that position was no longer available. Well, it's just like, you know, in our case with Linda.
Yeah, but I don't mean just, I
Yeah.
just threw up police as an example. I don't know the, minutia of it, what came into it.
Mhm.
I could go and look at a lot of the other items in different departments and wonder, looking at how much I see for, bail. So, I mean, I forget though, does the FinCom do we get a report, do we know exactly what each department has left over at the end of the year and how much?
It would be this report
Isn't free.
as of June
It's this
30th.
report.
Yeah, but,
And then some of these you can tell in the text and the account name if it says like SA 2501.
Yeah,
It's a
article.
special Article 20, for special town meeting, Article 20, May 2001. So that was some article that was budgeted for, and you'd have to pull out the details to see what it was. Chances are, if it was from '01, they're never gonna spend that balance.
But
That could be.
I know, I'm just concerned
But you can
because.
read, you can distinguish.
Yeah, but
them
I'm just
between-
concerned because if departments have extra money left over, and I realize you need to have extra money for, budget, for any emergencies that come up, especially, police probably, but my concern is if departments have that extra money, the incentive would be to spend down that money as much as possible if they can, because, it's part of their budget, and they want, every department wants their budget to at least be what it was the previous year. So that would be my concern, that, when you see a lot of open balances, in the final month, I can understand, warrants, and I can understand, fixed costs for capital and stuff like that, get tacked on at the end of the year, but salaries is something else entirely that I don't really know how much. I mean, I'm
But
just.
salaries are salaries, they can't like
Yeah, but
suddenly spend
salaries-
that up
but-
if they haven't already earned,
The-
Right,
Yeah.
but,
They're on a salary scale, so.
Well, if you're looking for the police wage breakout, I can ask the chief to update. You're seeing total wages for the department.
Right.
That's everybody excluding him,
Yeah,
the chief.
right. Yeah,
If you're asking for a breakout of his sub-budget lines that aren't represented on that, I can certainly ask him to send that to the finance committee so that you can see that. And that will look similar to what you saw on the budget package that you got just during budget season. I think maybe that would
Right.
be helpful, Peter.
well.
You know, a lot of other budgets, the wages are right there, they're right tied to the position, so they're not shown in an aggregate form. They're by position, so you can
Yeah,
kind of
but
see.
I would just use police as an example, I'm just saying anything, even like call firefighter wage is 32,778.
They're paid, that's a quarterly payment. Excuse me though, that's a
Okay.
quarterly payment.
All right, well, see, I don't
See,
know, that's
payroll
what
is
I'm
done on a
asking.
quarterly.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking, I don't, so,
Well, you almost have to
I
wait
don't know.
until the books are closed for the year to see exactly what is left over.
mhm.
Because, some of that stuff, like Debbie said,
Exactly.
is quarterly. Some of it is assessed once a year on some of the things.
and the town accountant sees everything, so if
It's-
people are suddenly buying,
Exactly,
so,
So in-
No,
unnecessary
but I
equipment
mean,
at
you
the
can't
end of the year.
necessarily, take some person's word for it. And I can, see Peter's viewpoint that, you want to not necessarily question everything, but you might have questions on it. And, it's legitimate and,
I mean, for the most part, we've looked at this
Mhm.
many months, And I've looked through anything that seemed, I mean, we've looked at it
Well, I've
before, it
looked and
didn't
I've made a lot of
seem.
comments in the past too
But there
about
was
certain
always, I
things.
thought there was always an explanation. I don't know, unless
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
forgetting, but I thought.
maybe it would be helpful after the fiscal year is ended and we get the final numbers, is to go over what the numbers are and see if we have any concerns about what's left over and questions then.
Yeah, because I mean, if there's a lot of free cash in a department, then I would be a little concerned, because then you're looking at budgets that are totally overestimated, and then those budgets never go down. They always usually go up by at least 3 or 4%. So you might just be tacking on something that really, and creating more and more extra open free cash that really doesn't tell the
No,
story.
yeah.
If you're really not spending down to, spending what
I
you
don't
have
think you're gonna
appropriated.
see a department that has, we'll say, if they had a $500,000 budget, that they had $100,000 left over.
Well,
That they would, you'd probably see a whole bunch of purchase orders or other things in that last month to try to spend.
Try to
100.
spend. See, try to spend. That's
Yeah.
what I'm a little worried about. Try
Well,
to
but
spend.
yeah,
you know,
but
from
so
the-
that could be
And,
picked up in the last ditch efforts of trying to run through purchase orders to use up that funds. That's where you pick it up. But
Well, alternatively, I can tell you, having worked here, that expense budgets have been level funded.
Mhm.
The town hall, annex, I believe library, police, highway expense budgets back, I wanna say, and Dave Peterson was on the board at the time, were increased modestly, maybe $2,000 we're talking about, then they were increased, and they've been level funded since then. I think town hall was 2,000, maybe annex was 3,000, library was a little more, because we could not keep up with the rising cost of heating oil or natural gas or whatever. But before that, they were level funded. I think the town hall was about $9,000. And Jack Demento, who was on the finance committee, said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "This budget isn't realistic. I am never gonna make it through the town hall expenses for a fiscal year. Come to the finance committee and get reserve fund transfers. That's out of the 50,000 set aside for emergency and unforeseen expenses." And that's was a common practice for a long time. And the budgets weren't realistic, but all the expense budgets have been level funded. And those were just for the buildings. They weren't expense budgets so people could go to more conferences or
Right.
travel. All that's been cut. Even if you're eligible to attend, conferences out of town or whatever, employees don't even go most times. They just go to a day conference in,
Yeah,
Eastern Massachusetts or something.
yeah.
So a lot of that has not even been a practical, consideration in the expense budgets. But we can track that back, and you'll probably see for the most part, that things have been flat.
Right.
The library has increased their operation. They have expanded hours and things like that. So that's been adjusted
Right.
outside, exclusive of any override out of the operating budget, but that hasn't been the same case for any other department.
Yeah.
And for upcoming now for fiscal 14.
So how much free cash would you say, if you were to take all the departments in the town and add them up together, how much free cash you think it would come out to be?
Well, I
Certainly.
can't, there's no way I would ever make that
No,
statement.
for last year, what was it?
Well, you're talking about the free cash that we got for the prior year.
Yeah,
See, unlike other towns, at the end of the year, they close their books out, and then that money becomes immediately available to appropriate. They may use that in their fiscal 14 budgets, but we don't. We actually hold on to anything that we have, and we use it for the following year.
Why so Raleigh doesn't follow the same cycle as every other town?
No, I would say towns that are
I thought that was a
in
statement.
jeopardy of not getting enough revenue that they've anticipated,
Oh.
maybe weren't as conservative in
Okay.
their forecasting for new growth or other components of property tax, would use that money right away at a fall town
Oh,
meeting, or
okay.
a city council meeting, would be able to
Okay.
tap into it.
Right.
But
Because
if
there's
they use-
paper.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
just that there's paperwork to be filed with the state, and it seemed like that takes a while.
Well, you have to, it's closing the books out, so
Yeah.
it does take some time on the town accountant's ability to do that, and then the DOR comes out.
So, but if they use that money as, you know, for the upcoming budget, you know, then then the problem is, then, you know, I don't really know, I don't know, any, you know, the department probably knows, but I wouldn't know what really was, how much the budget, if it was padded at all, or if there was, you know, what was in there, if you have a lot of free cash, then that, to me, that means that wasn't really a realistic, but, you know,
I don't think
department
but
for,
I
you
think
know,
our free
for-
cash has fluctuated. We happen to have more this year to use, but
Oh.
that's not the standard
Well,
for
I don't
Raleigh.
know.
I think it's been pretty
don't know.
low some years.
I don't know, that's why I was asking
Well,
Debbie.
I
don't know.
thought, Peter, I thought the purpose of having the liaison was so that the FinCom members would go out and meet with departments and learn about their budget and operation, and I think that was a great idea. And I think probably that's where a lot of these questions that you have concerning really the minutia of the budget as it relates to the operation and cost of a department to run
Right.
can be answered. I think a one-on-one or shadowing,
Yeah.
you know, departments, employees, and seeing what's involved to run a department helps.
Yeah.
That's just a suggestion, and I think that's addressed through your
Yeah.
approach, which I think is great, and all the department heads have given me great feedback on it.
Mhm.
They actually enjoy meeting with the FinCom reps and having somebody come by. You know, Jack was retired and had a lot of time on his hands, and you guys are all have jobs mostly out of town, and so you don't have that ability, but it seems like everybody on your committee has taken the time to meet with the departments that they're part of. And I think then bringing that to the table in these discussion formats, like Jamie just briefed the board about the water stuff, you have that ability to convey that as sort of the liaison or representative from that various board.
You know, I think it is helpful for them, to get an overall picture. It might not, you know, be as much information as you might need, you know, for individual things, like if you wanna talk about the membrane, or what the water department has been going through for certain line items and stuff like that. You know, it's useful there, but does it give you an overall picture of the whole, you know, department, what actually they have, you know, spent for funds and what they have available? You really don't really know that, even going to the,
Yeah, I don't
To
know
the
why, you should be
meetings,
able
you
to
know.
go in there, just like in here, if you wanted to
Yeah.
know what we spent on the telephone, for the selectman's office. You know, we can tell you how much we paid for Verizon, Centrex, or long distance, we can give you up-to-date account, I'm sure you can do the same. If you walk right down and see Laura tomorrow, she can tap right in and tell you how much they've spent on electricity, probably by well station, by the administrative offices, and I think that's what you're looking at, you know, trying to get into the details of what the expenditures are.
So what if
Yeah.
we say this, we put on our agenda for the July meeting, by which time we'll have this report for June, and that'll be the end of the fiscal year balances. And then if we get that report before the meeting, people have time to look at it, and if there are specific questions, we can talk about them here, and whoever is the liaison for the department where we have the question can reach out to their contact, and you know, if there are any questions like that.
Mhm.
So, so how about if we determine a meeting date though for June, in case there are other transfers that we need to do? Do you wanna do I'm looking at the May calendar. Looking at the calendar.
June 13th, I think, is a Wednesday. How about the 20th?
June 13th is a Thursday.
Thursday, so the 19th?
So the 19th? Does that work for you?
The 19th.
I think I'm gonna be out of town the
Okay.
19th. Can't remember if I'm leaving Wednesday or Thursday, but I'm pretty sure I'm leaving Wednesday.
But
So how,
is that, I mean, we're not gonna know what, June 19th, we're not gonna know what,
no, when we meet in July.
Oh,
I'm
July.
saying,
Oh,
because we
July.
won't
Oh,
have
yeah,
the-
in
July.
But there may
Oh.
be more transfers
Oh,
that we'll have to
okay.
take care
Yeah.
of in June.
So if we meet June 26th, is that good? It's a Wednesday at 7:15.
That
Okay.
works.
All right. So, it is 8:10. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Mary? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jamie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.